WA Star has won.
Welcome to Greyhound Gossip, featuring Peter O'Neill. This is where we take a look at the WA Greyhound racing scene, keeping a close look at what is happening on and off the track.
Keep an eye on the clock. She is brilliant, Miata. She stops the clock, 36.55, a new track record. And a very good morning, everyone. Welcome along to Greyhound Gossip, big weekend of greyhound racing. And, of course, we saw over in Queensland, J take out the golden ticket on Saturday morning. Much improved run by Sage Tennille, finishing second. So J running from memory the second quickest time at Albion Park, 29.37, and goes straight through to the Gold Bullion final. Sage Tennille, she will have to go through the heats of the Gold Bullion this week. She went 29.61, which was a slick run. Collected for her connections around $15,000, so that will help in the paying for the kids, and also Brittany over in Queensland for Cody Charles. So we're looking forward to Sage Tennille continuing on. Friday night at Mandurah saw the running of the Express Stake heats, and Rex Hunter was too good in the opening heat for Ricky Valenti, defeating West on Odie. And then we saw Sunset Mirage get across from box number 8 to defeat Stanger Fire in the second of the heats. And the third of the heats, Robotnik for Lewis Clay at big odds, around $12, was successful over Disco Daisy. Then on Saturday night, we had one favourite salute the whole of the Saturday night program. Well done to one punter who invested $5 and won $9,000 on a multi with a bet at the Meadows. He backed the favourite. So it was race 11, I think, at the Meadows, $23 chance. The favourite in the Paws of Thunder. And then he had two winners at Kennington as well. And they were in the free-for-all when Columbus Manelli got up at around about $8, and he also had Yamasaki Bale at $9 win. So 4 legs of a multi and $9,000 jumping in for a $5 bet. But yeah, quite a few of the favourites going down on Saturday night. One of those, of course, was over the 600 metres, and that was when we saw the favourite go down, or Crumble Manelli first of all went down as a short price favourite in the second leg of the quaddie over the 500 metres, and then we saw the favourite go down in the next race, Couch Surfer, who was going around about $1.40 from memory and got squeezed at the start. Flying Frida was able to get across from box number 8 and win the kennel mate for Chris Holes. It was a big night also at Wentworth Park with the Futurity. Gets late early, winning for Melinda Finn. That was emotional for her. Of course, her husband, John, passing away last year. And the Derby went to history's coming for Thomas Rees, his first Group 1 win. But for the Paws of Thunder, that was the Group 1. Dutch Riot was successful, and of course Colin Birmingham, who breeds with his wife, bred Mystic Riot to win the $1 Million Chase, and Whiskey Riot a number of years ago to win the Melbourne Cup, and they saluted on Saturday night with the Paws of Thunder.
Racing now, Dutch Ride away cleanly enough. He'll go through and he will lead. Dutch Ride at the first turn, kick clear by 3. Up to second is My Hepburn, railing through Nangar Larry. To fourth is Commodore Cost. They're followed by Idolize. Well back in the field, Go Bears, zipping Novak. Tour Commander out the back. Dutch Ride leads off the back by a length on My Hepburn. Nangar Larry tried to go for an inside run, got chopped out. Dutch Riot, the Victorian superstar, kicked away, and Dutch Riot has won the Paws of Thunder brilliantly over My Hepburn. Nangar Larry third, Commodore Cost fourth. They're followed by Idolize, Wellback, Go Bears, zipping Novak.
Yeah, brilliant victory on Saturday night there in the Paws of Thunder by Dutch Riot, and we'll be going towards the Temlee now, the Victorian, knocking off the New South Wales chasers. As I mentioned, Sage Tennille going towards the Gold Bullion after running second behind J in the Golden Ticket at Albion Park. That meeting transferred to Saturday because of the inclement weather on the Thursday night. Let's turn our attention back to Saturday night. I mentioned that $9,000 collect by one punter that had $5. The last leg of that multi was Yamasaki Bale, who won his 4th consecutive race. And we're about to be joined by his trainer, Justin Wood, who joins us on Greyhound Gossip this morning. Justin, good morning.
Good morning, everyone.
You've really turned this greyhound's form around. I was doing some research after the race. His form was outstanding. He'd won his last 3 going into Saturday night, but having a look at his form prior to that, I think he'd gone 21 or 22 starts. He had a losing sequence, not all with you. His last win had been in October 2022, back at the Meadows. He hadn't won since then, but gee whiz, you've got him flying at the moment.
Yeah, no, it's been great. It was pretty tough to start off with, but it makes you so proud when you put all the effort in and you get the results that he's been giving us the last few weeks.
Can you tell us about how you actually got this greyhound into your care? Because it was 2 or 3 runs prior to him coming across to WA in June 2023, where he'd had only, I think, 3 runs in 6 months, basically. So how did you actually get him into your care?
So basically, I was just sitting at the track one Wednesday night, just looking through some greyhounds that were going to become available to be bought. Noticed that Danny Gibbons had put this one up for sale, saying that, he can trial well, but he's getting a bit field shy, or, maybe he needs to change the kennel. So I spoke to a couple of owners and said, let's have a crack. He's had a couple of falls, and I just think he needs to go somewhere else and see a different scenery, and hopefully that can get him going again.
Yeah, and you've certainly been able to get him going. Tell us about when he first got to you. So you took over his training, in about April, May last year?
Yep. Yeah, he came over in great condition, and he was trial on the house down, but whenever we put him in a field, he just seemed to not jump or he couldn't run out different distances, but then we'd fix him up, trial him again, and he'd go super. Whether it was the field shyness or just from having the falls, so he'd lost a lot of confidence. But, we just kept trying different things, putting him with other dogs and just doing the simple things like that at home, a lot of head work.
Yep.
And now I think he's got the confidence to go on with it. Yeah,
we obviously did a lot of good work with him, because soon after you got him into your care, he finished 4th at Cannington on debut, and he then was placed behind Sage Daniil. So that's a pretty good form line back in July last year.
Yeah, no, he ran. We were very proud of that run there. We thought, we've got him now. But then he sort of he wasn't running on those distances just at that time there. Not quite enough to be, winning enough of those races. So we went back to the drawing board and tried different distances and trialled him.
Yep.
And then brought him back up, and he started going, running a little bit stronger. So we decided to give him a post-to-post, and the difference there was huge. So that's where we decided to go back to the 520. And then we noticed that he was running on strong from there, so we decided to step him up, see if we can get him out on the arm again.
Was part of that work in his mind taking him up to Northern?
We thought that was nice, tight. He likes the rail. He does all the right things. So we thought, well, that's generally a lot different to everything else that we have here in WA at the moment. So we thought, well, if we can get him going up there, he was a country grade 5-6 dog. So we thought he's got a couple of wins up his sleeve up there to get some confidence, and then hopefully come back to Cannington. But that wasn't to be. He didn't get the best boxes. So then we brought him back, gave him a couple of weeks off, freshened him up, and then started trialling him up back at Cannington. And he's certainly changed his attitude towards Cannington now.
Yeah, let's go to the 13th of December when he won that first race for you back in December last year. It was over the 520 metres. He wasn't quick out, but he made ground and was only a narrow victor. It was around about $10 or $12, I think it was at the time. But you and Amanda must have been thrilled with that success.
Yeah, we were absolutely stoked, because both of us have put a lot of effort in, and Amanda does a great job in doing the greyhounds most of the time during the day for me while I'm at work, getting him running. And he was a bit of a lazy worker when we first got him, so it was she's got him firing now for us, and so it's great. And to show that he showed his smarts in that race where he come from behind. So that was an even better feeling for us.
Talk us through your thoughts and your thought process, the fact that you mentioned earlier on that he wasn't running out races. So he won on the 13th of December, and you'd obviously already nominated him for a 600-metre race. So you went from a 400 where he finished down the track at Mandurah back in early December to the 520, and then a quick turnaround to that 600, which he won a couple of days later. What were your thoughts there?
Well, basically we thought that he wasn't beginning all of a sudden where he was originally in the races where he was getting run down. So we thought, well, to try and get some confidence, we'll get him out on the arm. if he loses, gets run down in the last 30 metres, at least he'll take a lot of confidence from going past dogs in the race. And hopefully he doesn't get too tired. But he'd run home very strongly over a 488 trial. So we thought that showed that he could still run, the 520 and the 600. So we were fairly confident putting it in. But that night, he really surprised us how he was able to run the full 600 out on the arm first time. So we're very, very stoked with that.
Yeah, so 2 wins together. You then gave him a few weeks off, brought him back in early January. He then dominated again over the 600 metres, and then stepping up on Saturday night. That was a classy field on Saturday night. He went around about $9 or $10 and jumped on the arm again and just ran all of his rivals off their legs. So 4 in a row. That's outstanding effort.
Yeah, no, he's doing a great job, and he's such an extremely happy dog now. He every time you get down the kettle, he wants to give you a cuddle now. So he's a completely different dog, and he's super confident. He loves going to the track now, which is, I guess that's shown in his form. And I think what he did best on Saturday night is he literally just ran the others off their feet, and it was like, catch me if you can. It was quite a good run from him.
Yeah, best time for him as well, 34.85. So 4 wins in a row. What are the plans? First of all, before I go into the plans, it wasn't you that had the $5 $9,000 multi, was it?
No, not me. I'm not really a big bettor, no.
I hope someone gives you something for that, because they would have been very happy when he got into the final leg of their multi. What are the plans with him now? Do you think he can get to the 700, or is 600 his limit?
At this stage, I would say 600's on his limits. He's still only running home in the 1180s, 1190s. So we'll keep it at that for now. We'll give him a couple of more 600s now that he's up to the city grade to see how he handles. There's some fairly talented 600-metre dogs going around at the moment. So hopefully, when it's his turn, he'll win. There's going to be times that some of these dogs will go 34.50s and better at times. But if he can, run a place in those ones and keep the confidence up, we'll just keep him there for now. I'm sure there's some other things that we can try maybe down the track if there's some heats or something that it might suit him. We might chuck him in them. But it's really just how he pulls up every week now.
Yeah, well, you've got your dogs very happy. You've got a couple in on Wednesday, Girl Hill and also Sassy Snickers. How do you expect them to go? One of them, Girl Hill, wasn't a bad run in a maiden the other night.
Yeah, no, I expect them to go pretty well. She's pretty talented. Been a little bit unlucky on the boxes and to date, but I thought she ran home really strong in her last race last Wednesday. So if she can just get the start a little bit better, I think that she'll definitely have a good crack at. She's more than capable of running good times. So just need a bit of luck early, and then she can show a bit of her talent. Well, Sassy Snickers, she's generally a very good beginner. So even though it's box 5, if she begins like she can be very hard to catch. She can run super time over 380. So I expect her to go pretty well as well.
Justin, well done with your team. I know you've only got a small team, but outstanding effort, and thanks for sharing the story with us, because many punters would be watching Yamasaki Bale and just seeing how much he's improved, and the fact that he went so long without a win, and to you and Amanda putting all that time and effort in to trying to get him right, and now you're getting the reward. So well done, and let's hope there's plenty more wins in store.
Awesome. Thanks very much for having me.
Good on you. Justin Wood joining us, and a very good story talking about Yamasaki Bale, who won his 4th consecutive race after going we had his previous win was back in October 2022. As we continue on with Greyhound Gossip, and we're about to continue on with our look back at 50 years of greyhound racing in Western Australia. Our special guest this morning is a man that was there on that first night on the 12th of December 1974, Dennis Calleja, and he joins us on Greyhound Gossip this morning. Very good morning, Dennis.
Good morning to you, Pete.
Do you remember that first night when greyhound racing first started back in 1974?
I remember very, very well. It was very hard to walk from between the public to get to the kennels for the dogs. I was a bit late. There were so many people. It was beautiful to see. They really, really liked greyhound racing opening night.
How many people would have been there? Do you remember?
Oh, please. It was full. I can't say 6,000, 7,000, 8,000.
Yeah.
It was full. You couldn't walk, Pete.
It was remarkable. We'll come back.
It was magic.
We'll come back to the 50 years of WA greyhound racing in a moment. But tell us how you got involved in greyhound racing and when you first came across to Australia, because of course you have got Maltese blood all the way through you.
Yes, I have. Well, I landed in Australia and finished up in Queensland, cutting cane in Babinda. After 2 years, I left Babinda and went to Sydney for a couple of weeks, but Sydney was too good, so I stayed. After about a month, there's a mate of mine back home asked me if he wants to join in the greyhounds, which I did, and we won a lot of races with it, but now I can't remember his name.
So
that's bad.
What year were you talking back then?
I'm talking about 1966, 67.
Okay.
I would say 67, yeah. And then I bought my own dogs and kept on racing.
Who taught you? Who taught you the trade?
Well, I spent a lot of time with Paul Cucci and a bloke called Billy Fletcher. They all were top trainers at that time in Sydney. Plus, I finished up working with Paul Cucci for a couple of years. He had a good straight track, and then he built a circle track, so I couldn't leave. I loved it.
I remember reading a story about Paul Cucci, who was inducted into the Hall of Fame not that long ago, and they called him the Maltese godfather of greyhounds. They obviously they didn't know Dennis Calleja.
He did. Paul was a great bloke to work with, you know.
Mm.
I enjoyed my time with him. Then I met my wife in Sydney, and we kept on going with 15 dogs. We go to Bulleye, Depto, Gosford, Orange. You name the tracks, I've been on all of them. Can I
just ask you what Paul Cucci actually taught you back in the day? Because he was regarded back then as a guy that would, get his dogs fit on a straight track, and also as a very good muscle man.
That's exactly. Paul doesn't tell you. Paul tell you to watch and learn. Watch and learn. That's what the word he used to say. Mm. You can't teach anyone by words. All you have to do is watch what they're doing, and that's how you learn. And it was a great bloke for me. I learned a lot from him.
And what made you decide to come across to WA?
Well, I didn't have the good dogs in Sydney. All my dogs were country dogs. And when I heard that WA it's opening, I thought, time to go. So we picked up all the dogs and everything came. But the problem is I come 3 months before opening.
Okay.
And I had 11 dogs in Bayswater in a small house. Not very good for my sister-in-law. But anyway, we kept on going. Then opening night come, and I remember I won opening night with some more. And that got me going.
Okay, and on that first night, I remember, and I've seen pictures of you being presented with a trophy by legendary harness and thoroughbred trainer Fred Kersley, and I can tell you, both of you were very good-looking men back then, and you had a good crop of hair as well.
Tell me about it. He was blonde too. I don't know if he's blonde. I haven't seen him for a while, but it was a pleasure to give me the trophy by himself. But then he got me stuck into trots. Oh, I hate it. No, not really.
So there was a massive crowd on course, and you were only here for
massive, mate.
Yeah,
massive.
You were only here for 3 months before greyhound racing started. There was a long history which we'll delve into one day about the struggles that those that started up greyhound racing in Western Australia had to go through to actually get to racing here.
Yes, but it was very hard for them.
You'd remember that. Back then, which is probably different or definitely different than today, a lot of people from harness racing and the thoroughbreds would go across to the greyhounds on a Saturday night or a Thursday night back then in those early days.
Definitely they did. They did. They used to love coming to the dogs. And so some of them bought greyhounds and some of them trained greyhounds after a while. They enjoyed the dogs.
Yep, and it wasn't too long after, even though you'd had some success in Sydney and obviously success on that first night at Cannington, it wasn't too long that you had to wait when we had our first ever running of what was then the Gold Cup, but we now know as the Perth Cup. And of course,
the Gold Cup,
Tell us about that.
It was a pleasure to have the dog. His name was Marcus Wright. And he was a good dog, very strong. I got about 2 months before the Perth Cup, and it looked like he can win it, but there was one dog of David Hamer to beat.
Yep.
But unluckily, Hamer's dog, I can't remember him, he fell in the first turn. And that got me 10 lengths in front, so that makes me happier to win the race. After that, there was the siren on. So what that? I never heard of a siren. The steward wants to check the race before pass the winner or second or third. And I tell you what, I was shaking. I said, please, God, what's going on here? But after 5 minutes, the race was on and I won the race, thank God.
Yeah. Just going back prior to that, you were the quickest. Was your dog the quick? You had two in the final, but was your dog the quickest of the heat winners?
I think so. I think it was, yeah. I think it was. I can't remember. It's too far back to remember. But I think it was, yeah. And I think Hamer wasn't far away from behind me. And
you won, and you had to wait when the siren went and the stewards had to view the film.
So
how long was that wait?
Most probably 7-8 minutes, shaking all the way down to the catching pin.
And what was the experience like when you finally won your first, it wasn't a Group 1 back then, but your first cup?
I was jumping with joy. Because honestly, that's the first cup I won in Greyhound race in Sydney all year. It was beautiful to win that. I mean, it was nice. Very good.
So that was almost 50 years ago. That was back in 1976, and we're celebrating 50 years this year. What have you seen over the years? Because there's been many changes, hasn't there, in greyhound racing here in WA?
Yeah, there's a lot of changes, and what you have to do is you go with them. But the change was I was lucky enough that me and my wife bought the property I'm living in here. And we built up a 400-meter straight track, which was Paul Cucci always told me to have. Mm. And then about 5 years later, I put 420-meter circle track. So that helps the tools. You got the tools of greyhounds, which helps me a lot to get my dogs fit, all of them.
And many of our listeners that are new to greyhound racing wouldn't realise that you were behind many of the leading kennels in WA because a lot of trainers didn't know how to check their dogs and they would come to you.
Yes, true, I did. Most of them, most probably 90% going 1978, 9, they realised that their dogs got to be checked, which they've kept on coming. Then I finished up buying most probably about 60 dogs for different owners, but I didn't train them. I buy them for them from Sydney because no one knows how to buy the dogs from Sydney. And that's what the problem is. They start to race against me and beat me. Mm. But anyway, that's the reason I used to fly to Sydney probably once a week to buy dogs for them. Because I used to go there to check the dogs, make sure everything is good, muscles, no bones broken, then I'll buy them and bring them back for them.
For a simple man like myself, Dennis, can you explain to us what you look in regards to the muscles? Because obviously a broken leg you can see or a broken bone you can see.
That's natural. Well, normally between the mind and the fingers, you touch the dog's neck, you start from the top of the neck, and if the dog start to trim, you have an idea there's something wrong, then you look for the problem.
Yep.
You check their toes, you check their wrist, you go under the chest. You go in front of both shoulders, egg muscles, look for the vertebrae behind the neck, all these things. Make sure there's no ribs damage because you always can feel them. It's like a guitar, you go like a guitar on the ribs.
Yep.
Then you go at the back, make sure the tail vertebrae is perfect, no hip problems, no knee problems, toes or hocks. And that's you give them the go to race them, or you say, no, you need a couple of weeks off.
And it's not only greyhounds that you check these days, but you check other dogs as well.
Yeah, I check every dog, show dogs, most of them show dogs,
Yeah.
Plus I do paces.
Okay, so you work with the horses as well?
Yes, I do horses.
What were some of the better dogs? So you won the Perth Cup. What are some of the better dogs that you trained over the years?
I had Chief Guard. He was the first one to win 6 races in a row at Kennington. I had Flaming Ball, Greyhound of the Year, plus they broke the track record. New Ovation over 740 distance, another champion.
Yep.
You Can Dream was the last one I had just now, but there's so many of them. I can't remember them all unless I look in the the book. But I had some good dogs, and I can't lie to you. I had the people behind me. I had the people that wants to buy dogs. I wasn't frightened to spend $5,000-6,000 them years, so I bought him the best dog I can from Sydney.
Yep. And you train.
That helps me a lot.
You train for some big names in all codes and across different sporting fields.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I did. I can't remember naming her, but you got Bob Rockwell, Lindsay Archer. He passed away now, like Howard Settler.
You also,
there's a lot.
You trained for Dennis Cometti. I remember.
Dennis Cometti had the first one. I think her name was Miss Cry Baby.
Okay.
I had the first, what do you call it, with Dennis Cometti at Kennington, like what we're doing now. I can't remember.
And I do remember talking years ago to a good friend of Gary Wilson's, his name, and if not the best ever race caller in Australia, Paul Ambrosoli. And Paul spoke very fondly of you because you trained greyhounds for him as well.
Yes, we were very good friends in Sydney, very good friends.
Yeah.
I love him. I love the bloke. And Paul Coochie, the same thing. You always talk about him because they're the one that teach you what it's all about.
So you'll always go down in the history books, and every time I talk about the Perth Cup, I talk about you winning being the first trainer to win the Gold Cup, which is now regarded as Perth Cup. We're celebrating 50 years, and it's
50 years.
Yeah, it's certainly things have changed, and you would have seen a lot of changes over the years. But you still love greyhound racing.
I do, yeah, I do. I don't race anymore, but I'm still doing what I'm doing. Before I go, I have to tell you something. I do love Paul Ambrosoli calling. But I love you calling too, mate.
Oh, Dennis, I'll send you the $50
I love
later.
You, of course. I always told you that. The way you call the dogs, magnificent.
Thanks, Dennis. I appreciate that.
You do a good job in greyhound racing, don't worry.
And your daughter, I think she owned the last greyhound that you trained.
Yes, yes, she is. Yeah. I love her to bits, and she knows that.
Dennis, thanks for joining us this morning on Greyhound Gossip. I appreciate you going back and just reliving a little bit of history about that first ever Perth Cup and your name, as I mentioned, in the history books. And we're looking forward to celebrating with you and the rest of the industry in 2024, the 50 years of greyhound racing in WA. And let's hope it goes for many, many more.
Thanks very much, mate. One thing before I go. Keep calling.
Thanks, Dennis. Dennis Calleja joining us on Greyhound Gossip. Later on today, we have greyhound racing from Cannington, the first at 4:19. Of course, local harness racing from Pinjarra, the first at 12:42.
What's gambling really costing you? For free and confidential support, visit gamblinghelpline.org.au.